The 5 main elements of wine are acids, tannins, fruit, alcohol, and glycerol. Let's start by talking about acid first. Acid is in wine to help keep it fresh. It actually helps in the preserving of the wine and allows it to age for long periods of time. And one thing to know about acid is that it actually never dissipates. It stays at the same level until the bottle's open and drank. There are many different types of acid found in wine, but the 3 that we need to concern ourselves with today is tartaric acid, malic acid, and citric acid. The most important of the acids in wine is tartaric acid because this is going to help maintain its chemical stability and color and finally influencing the taste of the wine when it's finished being made. You can recognize the taste of tartaric acid through its mineral-like quality and taste. To help you understand malic acid, think of Granny Smith apple, that bright, crisp acidity. Malic acid is often converted into lactic acid, and the reason why they do this is because they want to soften up the acidic characteristics of the wine and give it more of a creamier texture and perhaps even a buttery flavor. To convert the malic acids, they simply introduce the lactic acid into the container, and all the malic acids are then converted, as in a mass mutation, into lactic acids. This is called malolactic fermentation. In the wine business, we call this ML for short. Citric acid, which is found in lemons and limes, is normally found in minute quantities in wine grapes. Citric acid is normally added to wine after the fermentation process, and it's usually done to boost the acidic level of a wine if it's lacking. Cool climate grapes have high acids and low sugars, but warm climate grapes have low acids and high sugars. A grape grower could pick his grapes earlier in the season before the sugars had developed while the acid levels are still high in order to create a wine with high acidity. Or the grape grower could let them hang on the vine longer so that the acid level drops and creates higher sugar levels. The ideal growing situation is to have hot days and cold nights so that at the end of the season you have good sugars and good acids like they do in Walla Walla, Washington and Wilcox, Arizona. Styles of white wine and white wine varietals that are traditionally high in acid are Sauvignon Blancs, some Rieslings, white Bordeaux's, white Burgundies, Chardonnays that have not gone through malolactic fermentation, and sparkling wines, particularly champagne, can have ripping high acidity. Red wine varietals that are traditionally high in acid are Barbera, Dolcetto, Gamay, which is used to make Beaujolais, Grenache, Nebbiolo, which is used to make Barolo and Baresco, Pinot Noir, especially from Burgundy, France, and Sangiovese. Now let's talk about tannins. Now you've tasted tannins before if you've left your tea bag in the hot water for too long, if the dentist grabbed a hold of your tongue with a piece of gauze, if you've chewed on a wooden popsicle stick or even a toothpick, you're tasting tannin. Tannins are something that nature creates to protect itself from the critters that would want to eat, let's say, the fruit before the fruit had fully ripened to full maturity. The tannins in wine are coming from primarily the skins of the grape, the seeds of the grape, even the stems of the grape, and the wood that the wine is being aged in. White wines usually have no tannin whatsoever. It's the red wines that are featuring tannins in most cases. Tannins do dissipate in time. So let's say a bottle of wine has been sitting for 15 to 20 years. What happens is tannins connect to proteins and they fall to the bottom of the bottle because they're heavy, and that's what we know as sediment. So the more aged the wine, the less tannic structure it has. Red wine varietals that feature high tannin levels are Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Petit Verdot, Malbec. Syrahs and Shiraz could be high tannin, but usually they're structured to show more of the dark fruit, some herbaceousness, some spice, and some smoky characteristics, which goes great with any grilled charred meat. And Nebbiolo from Italy, used to make Barolo and Baresco, are not only high in acids but are also high in tannins. Fruit is the main component of wine, and all of the tannin, acid, alcohol, and glycerol are there to support fruit because that's what we drink wine for in the first place. Some wines are structured to exhibit more fruit than anything else, and in white wine we consider it sweet, and in red wine we consider it fruit forward. Now any type of grape can be turned into a sweet wine by simply letting the grapes hang longer into the season so that more residual sugar grows, but white wine varietals that are traditionally high in sugar are Moscato, Riesling, and Gewürztraminer. Red wine varietals that are fruit forward, notice how I'm not saying sweet, I'm using fruit forward as a description of sweet, are going to be Zinfandels, Grenache, Dolcetto, Amarone, and Shiraz from Australia. And we've come to nickname these wines fruit bombs because they show so much red fruit characteristics in the front of the palate. And one varietal to talk about at the end of this video that steps somewhat out of the boundaries of the elements is Pinot Noir. And what's going on with the Pinot Noir is it has very thin skins, so it has low tannin, but high acidity. But here's the thing, because of the thin skins, it cannot help but exhibit the ground that it's grown in. So Pinot Noirs can be structured to have an earthy quality. So then when you pair food with it, think about food that are basically exhibiting earthy qualities such as mushrooms, escargot, and hummus.